What's going on, everybody? I am back with another video. Today's video will be about Manchester City and some of their rotational movements in possession and structural changes in possession to allow them clean progression up the field against Chelsea this past weekend. So before we start, please like and subscribe to the channel. You guys have been great about that, so keep it coming. But let's get right into it. So as I was just changing up a little bit, Manchester City lined up on paper in a 4-3-3 with Diaz and Stones in the back, Rodri on paper as a single pivot, Cancelo and Zinchenko as the fullbacks, Bernardo Silva and Gundogan as the eights, and Foden, De Bruyne, and Sterling as the front three. So let's get right into it. The first variation that I wanted to show was Manchester City creating a double pivot and an asymmetric midfield four. So when this would happen, Silva would move across the field, and it was very dynamic. So the players would move quite often and in very fluid manner. So sometimes Silva would appear on the left half space, sometimes on the right. Sometimes Silva would even be the player alongside Rodri. So very fluid, but just the rotation I will show you is with Silva, with Gundogan alongside Rodri, Silva in the left half space, and Cancelo as an inverted fullback. And when Cancelo plays this role, he often plays it much higher than we have seen in the past, where in the past it's very common for the fullback to go alongside the pivot, but in Cancelo, he plays a more offensive inverted fullback, which is quite interesting. And so now we have Zinchenko out wide, and against Chelsea's front three, we now have potential numerical superiority in the midfield, and we potentially can take advantage of this with a 4v3. We have passing options from both center backs going into the double pivot to create the free man. So how did Chelsea deal with this? Usually Kovacic would jump, Conte would slide over, and Mount would split the difference between Rodri and Cancelo. So it almost turned into a 4-2-3-1 or an asymmetric 4-2-3-1, but then the problem occurred when Ziyech would go press. The narrow positioning of the players on Chelsea would create this scenario with a vacated wide area, which allowed the ball to go into Gundogan and then out to Zinchenko, and with Foden pinning on the outside of Azpilicueta and Silva controlling Conte, the ball was able to move freely and the free man was found in the wide area rather than through the middle. So Manchester City effectively narrowed Chelsea's defensive shape, but as the shape from Chelsea was more narrow because of this numerical influence from City, the space was then created in the wide area for City to progress through the wide area. So this is just one situation, and how you can use the third man movement to take advantage of the free man in the wide area. And now the other one that was used less often, more sparingly, I just want to run through one or two really quick to get a video out to you guys, provide them value, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So the other one was really interesting. I really enjoyed watching Manchester City use this. And the reason why I cut the half spaces in half is just when we have two players in an asymmetric midfield four, usually the staggering in the half space becomes more and more important, because with higher occupation in the center and the half spaces, you have to create diagonality in these areas which makes it really important whether you position on the inside or on the outside. So let's keep going with the video. And now we were going to talk about the next movement. So sometimes Rodri did play as a single pivot, and a lot of times this would be the picture. So Rodri would come deeper, which allowed City to create a back three. And now to fill this, it was Gundogan who would drop deeper, and maybe Silva would even play in the 10 position with De Bruyne coming here. There's many options with City structure and fluidity, but we'll keep it simple with just a midfield 3. So now Silva becomes an 8, being marked by Conte, and Cancelo still is the inverted fullback in the higher position. So now this created a much different scenario where now they had numerical equality in the midfield and the first line of pressure, which then enhanced the freedom for players like Zinchenko and Sterling on the weak side. So I can highlight the spaces therein. It highlighted these players, especially Zinchenko, as Phil Foden was playing higher and pinning Azpilicueta. So when Ziyech would come narrow to press Diaz, Azpilicueta was pinned, and so was Conte. So in order, when the ball was played, you would usually go in and then out, or you can use a different third man movement. You can even drop Silva in, and then the ball would go out to Zinchenko, and progression would occur, and if they shifted over, there would be an imbalance in Chelsea's structure to then create the free man elsewhere in the central areas. So these were just two minor rotations I just want to show you on how you can unbalance a 4-3-3 as City did against Chelsea, and were able to progress the ball very cleanly, and they created very good chances, and outside the first 10 minutes they did control the game quite well. So I just wanted to provide you with a quick video. I'm going to come out with another video of Manchester City versus Chelsea using keyframe, so be on the lookout for that. That will probably be tomorrow in the afternoon sometime, but I hope you enjoyed just this little video on Manchester City's asymmetric midfield 4 and their rotations to unbalance Chelsea's structure and create the free man, oftentimes in the wide areas, but also through the center corridors as well. Alright, well, thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel, please, and I'll see you for the next video.